Hello and welcome to the Mobility Outlook studio at the Auto Expo Component Show 2023. And we have a panel discussion today to discuss coping with the EV transition, the opportunities and challenges. And I have a fine panel with me today. On my left is Mr. Dinesh Tyagi. He is the Managing Director and CEO of Hexall Motors. On my extreme left is Mr. Jayakumar G. He is the Group President India and Managing Director at Valeo India. And to my right is Mr. Shailendra Shukla. He is the Managing Director for the Vehicle Business and E-Mobility at Eaton in India. Gentlemen, welcome to this discussion. So we'll start off with the core subject, right? Coping with the transition. So at Hexall Motors, Mr. Tyagi, you have already showcased 5 very interesting products to the industry. Talk to us about this transition that the industry is taking from ICs to EVs and the future.
Yeah, so the transition that now we are witnessing in the electric mobility domain, this is actually being spearheaded. One is by the encouragement in terms of the FAME2 subsidies, which the government is currently giving. And secondly, it's also being driven by some of the mandates which some socially responsible companies who control big fleets like e-commerce companies, even the government, who are mandating like for the public transportation use of electric mobility in a big way. The acquisition cost of a EV today tends to be high, basically because battery cost is very high. So it is not able to compete on its own by the method of the return on investment calculation. The subsidies do help to reduce the initial cost, but then my personal viewpoint is that if the electric mobility has to stand on its own feet, it has to compete in terms of ROI, if not in terms of the initial acquisition cost. So we at Hexall are of that view that we will launch our products when we open up the price. So our target is that our products should make sense on their own without the need of any subsidy. So the whole concepts, the whole engineering has been done keeping that point in mind, and we wish to target a price range of conventional IC engine vehicle multiplied by the factor of maximum 1.25, and that's where we feel we are confident that return on investment to anybody who buys such products will come fairly quickly in a matter of 1 to 2 years. That's what people are looking at. If the investment return on investment cycle is 4 or 5 years, people are not interested. They need a return within, let's say, maximum 2 years. So this is how this transition should take place. So everybody has to look at it from that viewpoint, and it's possible. There are opportunities.
Okay, all right. Mr. Jayakumar, I'll come to you. Your view on the transition. How is Valeo preparing to meet the transition? You're already, of course, far ahead on that way. But give us your perspective on that.
Yeah, if you look at the electrification couple of years back and today, if you see the way the transition is happening, it's faster than what we predicted before. Now, if you see the as far as the initial purchasing cost, it is still high, as Mr. Tyagi also mentioned. From our calculations, we have seen that for the three-wheelers, if you take the purchasing cost plus the running cost for the next 5 years, which we call it the total cost of ownership, even without the subsidies, it makes sense. But for the two-wheelers, you need the subsidies still for the total cost of ownership being better. And of course, for the four-wheeler, the initial cost is high, and the total cost of ownership, including the subsidies and incentives, it is good. But if you remove the subsidies, then it is. So I think for some period of time, this subsidies will help in terms of having the total cost of ownership better in all these segments. As far as Valeo is concerned, we are focusing on both the low voltage, the 48 volt solutions for the two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and the high voltage for the four-wheelers. So we already have some business in hand which will be launching soon. And also another interesting thing in the three-wheelers, we have an MOU with Honda Power Pack where we are going for the swappable battery system. So that swappable battery system drives out a lot of the initial purchasing costs. I think that model, when it really scales up, we will see the big transition happening. The transition happening very fast. So if you look at the next 5 years and next 10 years, I think there is no going back. The EV is going to grow faster, and of course, ICE will also grow for some time, maybe 5 years or some period of. But the growth will be slower for ICE, and there will be much faster for EV. And if you see it is little bit of this percentage of EVs penetration. There are multiple versions to it, but I think from our study we see that there will be a huge transition: three-wheeler first, then the three-wheeler, then the two-wheeler, and then the four-wheeler. So we are having all the products, the powertrain solutions for the all the segments, and we also have the for the high voltage we have the onboard chargers, DC-DC converter, and the power distribution unit. So we are also supplying to Tata for our the four-wheeler, this Tata Nexon. So that's taking the lead now in the electrification. Many OEMs are coming with different models. So we will see a fast transition, in the next 5 years. And I think it's important that EV succeeds because we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about greener planet. So this definitely helps to reduce pollution in the cities.
All right. So I'll come to you, Sridhar.
Sure.
Your view on the transition that is happening, and you could give me maybe your perspective on the heavy duty side. Now, how do you look at this transition happening for EVs?
So I would say I would not restrict myself only to electrification when I see the changes. I would say alternate fuels
Okay.
is playing a major role, and then there are regulations which are also driving safety
Right.
over there.
Right.
Now, coming to the focus point on electrification and alternate fuels, we definitely see the changes on the card, and India, as on moment, is lagging behind few other countries. Now, Eaton being in a unique position where we are present both on the electrical side and the mechanical side, we are in a position to use our experiences and learnings to develop our product. So I'm sure it starts with the innovation, and most of the organizations we have been working with and talking to are started thinking about it, and some of them have started putting money on the innovation. So obviously it starts with the innovation and then it moves forward. So in short, if I see the heavy duty application, typically the truck segment, we would see the change, which will not be as fast as two-wheelers and three-wheelers in India. And then of course it's passenger vehicles. It's probably going to take little more than 7 to 8 years for the MHCV segment to be around 8 to 10%, either electrified or on the hydrogen side, and that's a trend globally as well. So I would say India is following the trend, and we would see a change. The change in the MHCV will be little late as compared to the passenger vehicles as well as the two-wheelers and three-wheelers. That's all I have to add.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tyagi, talking about the challenges that we see across the board, right? We understand, of course, infrastructure is one of the biggest concerns, plus product-related challenges, getting the consumers to sort of change their mindset, accepting EVs as their primary vehicles. Talk to us about the typical challenges, the most I'd say serious challenges that the industry faces as far as this transition is concerned.
I think the biggest concern is about the battery technology. As we already discussed, the cost of the battery is substantial. So across different categories, if you see the cost, it will vary from anything between 40 to 60% to 70%, depending on the range that you are looking at. So one is the cost. Other thing is the life cycle of a battery. So the big concern in the minds of people about the life. When by when will it get over and you'll have to replace the battery? That's a big concern. So a related point is that in the commercial vehicles it makes a big sense. They are utilized to a very great degree, many kilometers every day. So return comes much faster, and this is why we are seeing a big penetration in the commercial vehicle segments like the three-wheelers and buses. However, in the personal mobility segment, because utilization rate is low, so the sense or the ROI is little weak. So in the battery technology, another concern is about the safety. Unfortunately, there have been incidences of fire and there have been a few deaths. And also there is a lot of negative propaganda about the safety issues of the battery, and which is true to some extent. However, in certain chemistries like the lithium iron phosphate, this issue is very minimal. But nonetheless, I heard there have been some cases there too. The mass of the battery is a big concern. So per kilowatt hour, the mass is very high, that needs to come down because it eats away a lot of GVW capability, payload capacity of commercial vehicles, especially three-wheelers. So the volume, the size of the battery per se is also very large. So these are some of the major 5 concerns in the battery technology that we see. Other than that, you spoke about the charging infrastructure. So battery which can charge fast, infrastructure which can support fast charging is the need of the hour. So first, the battery's own capability to accept a high rate of charge, because high charging rate kills the battery life. So technology has to support. There are technologies, but then those technologies are again much more expensive compared to mainstream lithium iron phosphate, like LTO. They can accept high charge, but the cost is twice price. So there should be a new battery chemistry which can accept quickly the charge. People are looking at 15-minute charging cycle, 80% done. So that way then you can reduce the size. Of course, swappable is another solution to it. So that can be another regime solution that can come out, and we will be very happy in Hexall if some good network for the swappable batteries will come up in the country which can be reliable, and we are willing to adopt that. Uh, Other than that, when you talk of the home charger, then the big issue. You don't have the proper power outlet. Even, I'm surprised, as we discover, the home charging solutions are not available in excess of 30 amperes. That's the limit. So if you operate at 48 volts, you are looking at a 1 point a few kilowatt. If we operate at 77 volts, so we are limited to 2 point something kilowatt. So our battery size is 13 point something, so it takes 6 7 hours to charge. So even charger availability is an issue. If you ask somebody, please give me 50 ampere charger, I didn't find many people. So the technology changes completely about 30 amperes. So we look forward to some better home charging. Even if the power outlet is available, the charger is not available. So these are some of the major concerns I foresee.
Mr. Jayakumar, your perspective on the sort of challenges that you see from being a leading supplier to the industry in this whole journey. What are some of those typical challenges that you still face?
I think first the purchase cost of the vehicle has to come down. So if you see, the battery cost is the major portion of the vehicle cost. So if you see the 10 years back, what was the battery cost per kilowatt hour, and today there's a substantial reduction. But is it enough? It's not enough still to drive the cost down. So first thing, I think one is the battery cost has to further come down so that we are out of the subsidy, number one. Second, we should start localizing more. So that is one of the key things, to have a deeper localization. So that's on the battery part. The second is the powertrain. Today, since the volumes are still not at the level which we expect, so it is in the starting phase of the transition. So once you have the scalable volumes, then we can invest on deeper localization. It's not only assembly but deeper manufacturing of these all the parts, whether it is electronics, all the parts of the powertrain, electric powertrain. So that will help to drive the cost down. So I see that as the major challenge, which is very. See, I think in the next couple of years you will see more and more localization, and thereby the cost coming down. So that will make the most make it more affordable. The second part is the in the minds of the customers, the range anxiety. That's one of the things. Your question on the infrastructure also too. The earlier, uh, the range anxiety is one, but the OEMs are coming with models which are having higher ranges. For example, 400 kilometers range and 500 kilometers range. It's a good amount of range. So you charge once and you go to office and come back. So once in 3 days you can charge. So it's not a big concern at the moment. So initially when these electric vehicles came in, there's a lot of this concern, and particularly on the three-wheeler also. For an auto driver to go, he needs at least 150 kilometers range. So which makes him, fly throughout the day. So this range anxiety also should be, sort of sorted out. And I think the OEMs are coming up with many different models with higher range. But the only concern will come, what do you do in the weekends when you go for vacation or something. So still, that is something, because the charging infrastructure across the highways
That will, of course, need to come up. Correct.
come up, so that anxiety is also will go away. So that's how, these are the two main challenges, and I think over a period of time we will overcome all those challenges.
Right. You can talk about the challenges, of course, but then also talk about the opportunities that you see in this area for your business and the industry.
Sure. So while we covered enough on challenges,
Yeah.
I thought I would like to bring the attention of the panel about a century-old problem which started with the horse manure and the methane gas, and a very popular story how automobile was a good replacement for that. So similarly, I see we are at a cusp of a technology where things would change. We see the electrification as a good messiah coming in. Of course, it will have its challenges,
Right.
and then there are opportunities.
Right.
So on opportunity side, what I personally believe, we would see following. A, we would have new generation of entrepreneurs coming in. You already see so many startups coming in the OEM. Uh, and while the initial capital infusement is very high in the R&D, but as things stabilize, as brought up by Jayakumar, there will be localization. We will see that the assembly is going to be a lot easier
Okay.
than what we have been seeing in the traditional world. And with the assembly getting easier, I believe the maintenance and the serviceability is also going to be easier. This is over and above what we see in terms of savings and the fuel cost and the environment. Though on environment, I'm a bit worried because you still spend fossil fuels on generating electricity, and we have grid anxiety.
Correct.
But on the whole, I believe individual users would see their cost of running going low. From the society point of view, obviously decarbonization is going to help. And we can see new generation of entrepreneurs, and I personally feel serviceability and maintenance is going to get definitely going to get easier, and this is also going to help towards digitization. That means digitizing an electrical equipment is a lot more easier. uh, I would not say mechanical is difficult, but it's a lot more easier, and which can obviously help towards a smarter car as we move ahead. And I don't want to reach as far as driverless car, but at least in between it will definitely help.
Okay. Opportunities, Mr. Tyagi. I mean, of course, we understand the opportunities that exist with the EV transition. But when you look at the ecosystem as business cases, as business models, what are the kind of opportunities that you think exist in the Indian market?
Well, for the propagation of EV, is a huge opportunities. If I particularly talk about India, we are a country which is blessed by ample sunlight. So the production of electricity, the green electricity, There's a lot of debate about green electricity, right? Sustainable electricity. People say if you produce electricity by coal methods, then this is not green, it's not sustainable. So you are not doing any great job with electric mobility. But the way the solar electricity production is rising with a CAGR rate of over 30%, we see a huge opportunity for India to eventually have a large part of its electricity demand being met through this solar energy, which then drives your electric mobility in a big way. So that's one opportunity, and the cost of that energy is very competitive, as you know. As already, if you make a calculation compared to the fossil fuel cost versus even the grid electricity cost, the running cost of a EV is about one fourth, one fifth cost, and when at the normal tariff. But if there's a uh, electricity produced from solar, which cost is only 2.5 rupees to a unit, you can see a big factor of over 12 in the running cost. So, which makes a big business case for anybody, somebody who operates commercially, especially. So, the running costs are very low, ROI is very quick. You can have ROI within a matter of 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, like this. So, I think for India, we see huge opportunity in terms of the operating cost if driven through the solar.
What would you say, Mr. Jayakumar, in terms of the opportunities that you see for your business in this domain?
See, for us, we see a lot of opportunities when this EV transition happens. Because we have, see, last 10 years, Valeo has been investing on R&D on this electrification. And we have the many products to cater to this electrification. So we see that our content per car is going to increase substantially, multifold. So we have the convention for the ICE. We had the, the starters, alternators, clutches. So this is going to be for us going to be replaced by the electric powertrain, e-drive, and the onboard charger, DC-DC converter. So you can see that there's a huge content that is going to add. So it's a good for our business for the future, and that's also reflecting in our growth plans for the next 5 years. So that is one thing. The other thing is this EV transition. I know in terms of sustainability, in terms of making the planet greener, I think this is a good way, one of the best ways to go for these EVs. But of course, the question comes, where is the source of this electricity coming from? But we should also move from this coal energy production to greener, whether it's a wind energy or solar and other different forms of renewable energies, so that we are overall green. I think today the pollution, coming from the energy production, automotive. So automotive worldwide, it is contributing to 18% of CO2. So if you transition to this greener energies, EVs, so we are going to reduce that, and mainly the first, I would say there's a two-phase. One is reduce the pollution in the cities. Second is decrease the coal production. Coal energy production, and then go for more and more green energy solutions in the future. So that way we are contributing to the greener planet. And that's a opportunity for us to make this place more sustainable.
Sure, sure. On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for participating in this panel. Truly appreciate your participation. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.